is extended to the Libyan people from the onslaughts of the Gaddafi government and to support those seeking greater democracy and freedom in that country. Over the past 3 months, we have witnessed an unparalleled series of genuinely popular uprisings which are sweeping through many North African and Middle Eastern countries. We have been inspired by the sight of the young protesters in Tahrir Square in Cairo, who with courage and dignity withstood violence and intense provocation from security forces loyal to the former President Mubarak in order to insist on their right to assemble and to protest peacefully for political and economic reforms in their country. We have similarly applauded the Tunisian people for their success in ridding themselves of the corrupt and repressive regime of their former President Ben Ali. These developments and the uprisings which have followed in other countries throughout the region, such as Yemen, Bahrain and now Libya, are truly historic in nature. They rightly bear comparison in many respects to the collapse of the former communist regimes in Eastern Europe in the late 1980s. The general movement of protest against authoritarian and repressive regimes has been described as the Arab Spring. It behoves all of us who uphold democratic values to be supportive of those seeking greater freedoms throughout the Middle East and North Africa. In that regard, President Obama has eloquently spoken for many in the international community in the comments he made following the downfall of President Mubarak. He identified the basic yearning for freedom which has motivated these movements and emphasised the need to side clearly with those who are seeking, as he put it, to bend the arc of history once more towards justice. The tragic events now unfolding in Libya also need to be seen and understood against the backdrop of the Arab Spring. Like Tunisia and Egypt, Libya is experiencing a genuinely popular uprising against the deeply repressive and now violent rule of the Gaddafi regime. Just as in these other countries, the origins of the immediate crisis in Libya can be traced back over many years of violence, repression, injustice and misrule on the part of the regime. We need to go back specifically to the horrific massacre of more than 1,200 prisoners at the Abu Salim prison in Tripoli in 1996, an episode which for many years afterwards the Libyan regime sought to cover up and for which it refused to accept any responsibility. Just as the name of Mohamed Bouazizi, the young Tunisian street trader who set himself on fire last December following severe harassment by the local police, will forever be associated with provoking the series of events that led eventually to the removal of President Ben Ali, so also the name of Fathi Terbil, a young Benghazi lawyer, is likely to serve the same function in relation to the events now in train in Libya. It was Fathi's arrest on the 15th of February which provoked the popular uprising in Benghazi after he had bravely represented for 2 years the families of those who had been murdered in the Abu Salim prison and who had been campaigning for justice for their relatives. The violent reaction by the Gaddafi regime to the peaceful uprising which took place in Benghazi following Fathi's arrest has now plunged Libya into the profound conflict we are witnessing. It has confronted the international community with the challenge of how to respond when the rulers of a country turn upon their own people and flagrantly violate international obligations to provide security and protection for those over whom they have responsibility. The response of the international community to date to the Libyan crisis has been swift, vigorous and clear. In particular, the United Nations Security Council reacted with unprecedented speed in unanimously adopting on the 26th of February Resolution 1970, which implemented an immediate arms embargo, asset freeze and travel ban against Gaddafi and members of his family and regime. The historic significance of this decision, with its clear evoking of the principle of responsibility to protect, is one which needs to be both fully appreciated and welcomed by all those concerned to promote and safeguard the central role of the United Nations in international affairs. An equally important provision of Resolution 1970 was the referral by the Security Council of the situation in Libya to the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to initiate an investigation in light of the clear evidence of the widespread and systematic attacks launched by the regime against the Libyan population. This also is an important development, and one designed to ensure that Gaddafi and all those of his associates suspected of ordering attacks on innocent civilians are properly held accountable for their actions. I would urge the fullest cooperation and support from the international community for the ICC investigation. The UN General Assembly also moved rapidly at the time the initial crisis in Libya unfolded in late February to suspend Libya from its membership of the UN Human Rights Council. This was a move which Ireland fully supported and which we welcomed in a national statement delivered to the Human Rights Council in Geneva on the 25th of February. Since the onset of the crisis and the clear call contained in Resolution 1970 for the violence on all sides to end and for the Libyan authorities to respond to the legitimate demands of its citizens, the response of Colonel Gaddafi and his regime has been characteristically violent and contemptuous of the international community. He has turned the considerable firepower of his armed forces on his own people and has engaged in heavy bombardments of civilian populations in towns such as Zawiya, Misrata and Ajabiyya. He has refused to facilitate access for humanitarian agencies and actors in western Libya. He has also curtailed media access, arrested journalists and attempted to prevent the true picture of what is taking place in Libya from emerging. Officials from my department have met with concerned members of the Libyan Irish community in Ireland and have heard harrowing accounts of the violence inflicted by Gaddafi's forces since the current crisis erupted. In particular, there appears little doubt that widespread killing amounting to a massacre took place when pro-Gaddafi forces captured the town of Zawiya some weeks ago. In the past day or two, there have been reports of young children blown up in a car as a result of the regime's bombardment of the town of Misrata. At this stage, I would like to publicly acknowledge the bravery and humanity of those Libyan Irish medical professionals who either chose to return to Libya or to stay there while visiting in order to work in hospitals and tend to those wounded and killed. The complete disregard of the Gaddafi regime for the views of the international community and its failures to comply with the clear obligations imposed in Resolution 1970 led inevitably to pressure for more decisive and effective action against the regime. A particularly significant development was the clear call by the Arab League, meeting in Cairo on the 12th of March, for a no-fly zone to be established by the UN Security Council and for safe havens to be created within Libya. The Arab League was not alone in making this call, with such a move also supported by the Gulf Cooperation Council and the Secretary-General of the Organisation of Islamic Conferences. There can be no doubt, therefore, about the strong regional support which exists for concerted international action to halt the violence and to protect the civilian population in Libya. This clear regional support, coupled with the threat posed by pro-Gaddafi forces moving steadily towards Benghazi, led to the adoption last Thursday of Resolution 1973 by the UN Security Council. Resolution 1973 demands an immediate and complete ceasefire and authorises all necessary measures to protect civilians and civilian-populated areas, including the establishment of a no-fly zone. It also further strengthens the arms embargo, asset freeze and travel ban provided for under Resolution 1970. In calling for an immediate ceasefire and a complete end to violence and all attacks against civilians, Resolution 1973 stresses the needs for efforts to be intensified so as to find a solution to the crisis which responds to the legitimate demands of the Libyan people. I have already outlined last Tuesday in the Dáil my position on Resolution 1973 and its implementation. Ireland welcomes the adoption of this resolution, which is clearly intended to halt the violence being waged by the Gaddafi regime against the Libyan people and to ensure civilian protection. I have also urged that any military actions taken in pursuit of Resolution 1973 should be in full conformity with its terms and be proportionate, targeted and avoid civilian casualties. The people of Libya deserve, as I have said, an agreed and democratic future. The regime of Colonel Gaddafi, however, has neither the agreement nor the democratic endorsement of the Libyan people. Colonel Gaddafi should order an immediate and genuine cessation of his military offensive. He and his family should surrender power and allow the Libyan people to determine their own shared future peacefully. It is important to note that Resolution 1973 has already been effective in achieving a number of its key humanitarian objectives. Gaddafi's air defence systems within Libya have been largely neutralised, thus allowing the effective creation of a no-fly zone over the country. And the immediate threat posed to Benghazi and its population has been averted. The goal of any further actions taken in implementation of Resolution 1973 must be to maintain this no-fly zone and to prevent further attacks by Gaddafi's forces upon civilian populations and targets. I want to say a word about those who are bravely opposing the Gaddafi regime. We want to see an orderly transition to democracy and the rule of law in Libya. I have stated in the Dáil earlier this week that I welcome in particular the emergence of the Transitional National Council based in Benghazi as an important political interlocutor and representative of the Libyan people. I would similarly encourage all others within Libya who are committed to helping to transform it into a constitutional state based on the rule of law. I am aware that France has taken the step of recognising the TNC as the legitimate government of Libya. Ireland's long-standing position has been to recognise states, not governments. Nonetheless, political contacts with the TNC and other actors supporting the process of democratic change in Libya are important. These are, of course, clearly to be distinguished from any formal recognition. I would be happy to meet with any envoys of the TNC should they visit Ireland. The situation in Libya and the international actions taken in pursuit of the UN-mandated operation will be a major topic for discussion at today's meeting of the European Council in Brussels. The EU's role and response in relation to the Libyan crisis has been firm and decisive. Ireland fully supported the declaration issued by the Extraordinary European Council convened by President Van Rompuy on the 11th of March, which called on Gaddafi to relinquish power and to stand aside so as to enable an orderly transition to democracy in Libya in conformity with the legitimate demands of the Libyan people. The 11th of March declaration paved the way for adoption of Resolution 1973 in making clear EU member states' willingness to consider all necessary measures to protect the civilian population, provided there was a demonstrable need, a clear legal basis and support from the region. The situation in Libya was also extensively discussed at the Foreign Affairs Council in Brussels earlier this week, which Minister of State Creighton attended. The Council agreed conclusions which clearly condemned the continued violence and ongoing violations of human rights by the Libyan regime against its own people. Ireland strongly supports the Council conclusions, which also express satisfaction at the adoption of Resolution 1973 and make clear that the EU will support actions provided for by Resolution 1973 necessary to protect civilians and civilian populated areas under attack. The Council adopted further sanctions against the Libyan leadership, and a further round of EU sanctions is expected to be agreed by the European Council tomorrow. The full range of sanctions imposed in Resolution 1970 and 1973 have been or are now in the process of being implemented at EU and national level, along with additional restrictive measures aimed at cutting off the flow of funds and misappropriated proceeds to the Gaddafi regime, including any misappropriation of oil and gas revenues. There are two other important dimensions to the EU's role. Firstly, EU contacts have been particularly important in maintaining strong regional support from the Arab world, as well as from the African Union, for the concerted international response to the Libya crisis. In that regard, I want to acknowledge the role played by both Prime Minister Cameron and President Sarkozy in convening last Saturday's important summit meeting in Paris to consider the practical implementation of Resolution 1973. It is clear that the closest cooperation with the region and with African leaders will need to be pursued with great urgency in the period ahead. The EU's response to the humanitarian crisis arising from the conflict in Libya has also been important, with upwards of €30 million in humanitarian assistance being made available. Ireland has also provided substantial assistance. A further contribution of €250,000 announced today brings total Irish aid contributions to date to €650,000. This includes €250,000 in funding to help the International Organisation for Migration transport migrants leaving Libya back to their own home countries, as well as stocks of blankets and tents from Irish Aid's prepositioned stocks in Brindisi in response to a specific appeal from the UNHCR. The humanitarian situation remains very difficult. The principal problem continues to be access for humanitarian agencies in western Libya. Without such access, it is very difficult to form any reasonable estimate of the true extent of humanitarian needs in western Libya, though these are likely to be considerable. The EU has made clear that it is willing to make use of all available instruments, including support under the CSDP, in order to assist the ongoing humanitarian operations and in response to a specific request from the UN. The crisis which the international community has had to confront in Libya over the past number of weeks is both a profound and complex one without any easy answers. However, I believe that the response to date, crystallised in the two Security Council resolutions adopted on the 26th of February and the 17th of March, has been swift, generous and effective. It is a response overwhelmingly motivated by humanitarian considerations and aimed at bringing the violence to an end and ensuring that the brave people of Libya are not left defenceless in the face of the aggressive and reprehensible attacks of their own government. I do not believe it is accurate to characterise the international response to this crisis to date as amounting to an attempt to achieve regime change. What the international community wants is an immediate ceasefire, an end to all violence and attacks against the civilian population of Libya, and a political solution to the crisis which responds to the legitimate demands of the Libyan people. It is quite clear that there will be no place for Colonel Gaddafi in the political leadership of Libya. The people of Libya must be given an opportunity to fashion a freer, more democratic and prosperous future for their country. Colonel Gaddafi and his family must be made to realise this, to accept that the game is up and to leave the political stage. No one is under any illusion that this will be an easy political objective to achieve. However, it is one which both the European Union and the international community are determined to help to bring about. It is the very least that we should continue to strive for, given all that the Libyan people have endured over the past 42 years.